Greetings, power metal fans. So, I really hope you guys enjoyed this album as much as I do. Orden Ogan, Final Days. And when the album came out, I had a great chat with frontman Sebastian Seeb about this new album, and you can go and check it out right now. So, Seb, how is it finally to be able to release this new Orden Ogan album?
Amazing. Is it in written form or is it an audio podcast?
It's an audio podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will give you the hardest time of your life, and I will just answer with one word. Amazing.
I mean, it has been delayed what seems like 1 million times, and now it's finally out.
Yeah, it's great. Did you have any other guys who do that with you? No. I think there are musicians out there that really answer questions like that. Yes. Are you happy it's out? Yes. No, the thing is, we were announcing the pre-sale in December 2019, I think. And we had some vocals, some guitars already done. By November, we were basically done with the drums and with the choirs in December 2019. And the thing is that from that day on, everything went crazy. And I'm not talking about COVID. I think the thing is, in this production, everything that could go wrong really went wrong. And I'm not kidding. You know, there were like at least 15 to 20 situations that threw me back like 1 week each.
Okay.
And it was crazy. Starting with the drum recordings. I mean, you know how drum recordings normally work when I do that. And I had to go to the music store 5 days in a row because something broke down. Microphones broke down. Cables that we couldn't replace. He even broke his fucking right cymbal. I mean, who breaks a right cymbal, you know? And that is the least that you would expect. And I mean, it actually started even before with the recording of the Saloon Showdown, the last show of the Gunmen touring cycle, where all the audio tracks were corrupted and we had to be restored, and that was a real pain in the, you know. And in the year afterwards, I really, like in 2020, I really tried to get everything done, but we had so many problems in all the levels. I had problems with the power grid in my studio, couldn't record the guitars because I had terrible noise on the guitars. Then I had to go into another studio to record the guitars there, and I could just do that at nighttime because obviously during the day it was booked. And when I came back into my studio, obviously the power grid was fine again, you know, stuff like that. And the worst thing that happened in the end was basically that something went wrong with the mixing projects. Okay. And I still don't really get what was actually going on. I just knew that after the second or third song, everything started to sound like totally different, though I have them all in the same project. And I really couldn't fix it. We really tried to rebuild the whole session from scratch with all the parameters that we had, and even that didn't work. I don't know if there were some plugins that were just faulty and doing like really weird stuff or whatever, but in the end I was actually forced to try to mix, like completely remix everything from scratch to the point where in the Dawn of the AI already was, because that one was already released. And so that is virtually impossible. And I'm actually incredibly surprised how well that went. Because the record now, it really sounds like it is from one mixing session, and it actually isn't, not at all. You know? Okay. So that was really, really crazy. And there was so much stuff. I mean, when COVID-19 hit, then I mean, obviously we couldn't record the videos, shoot the videos at the places that we wanted to. We couldn't work with the people that we wanted to due to all these restrictions and stuff. You know yourself how it is like crossing the border and stuff. And that was just insane. And, I mean, like at that point where COVID started, we were already cynical, like well, end the worldwide pandemic. You know, what else? Throw more at us. You know. It just didn't stop. It just wouldn't stop. In the very last things that we did, for example, where the basically the authoring for the DVD, so like the menu structures and stuff, everything was done, and that was a friend of mine who was doing that, and he did a great job, and he sent me everything and was like, okay, please check that, and I checked it and it was fine. And then he was like, I just realized that one menu, it looks a little bit, it's possible that one text part is going a bit out of the screen. Let me redo that like real quick, and I will send you the finished version for production then. And he did that, and he sent me the finished version with a comment, this is the finished version for production, you can forward it to production. And I was like, there was so much going wrong with this recording. Maybe I should check that. And I burned it on a DVD. I put it into the DVD player, and my TV just showed me a folder structure. And I was like, great, this is the final file for production, But at that point, I was already expecting that. I was expecting everything to go nuts, like to go to shit. And so. Sorry it took me long, but to answer the question, how it feels that everything is finally done, it's great.
It's
that
great.
I finally have it done in the finished version, and it looks. Actually, I have to say I didn't put the CD into the player. Maybe there's another band on the CD or something like that. This is the only thing that's missing right now.
Well, I think you will gonna hear it if there's some problems.
Yeah. No, I didn't check it. Maybe I should.
But Sebastian, speaking of production and all that, and production-wise, I just think that the album sounds totally Orden Ogan. I mean, in the best possible way, as this big sound. But I think I can hear that you have tried out some different funny adjustments to have some kind of this sci-fi-ish vibe. I was thinking about the vocal lines in The Heart of the Android. Please tell me your thoughts about the production. Did you have any specific thoughts about, you have a sci-fi theme going on this album? Should it reflect on the production?
Yes, totally. I mean, for the production itself, like the real sound itself, my only goal was to make the most fat-sounding record possible. I think it really sounds huge. I mean, Gunman was not a bad-sounding record, but I think this one might be my best mix so far, like including everything else that I've done so far. I mean, we really always went the extra mile on the extra mile, if that makes any sense. And I mean, there are a lot of things that just make stuff like 1% better or so stuff that people wouldn't normally do because they were like, come on, this really doesn't matter. But in our case, we did all of that, and it really sums up in the end. As for the effects and stuff, I mean, when we did Gunman, when we were recording Gunman, or even when we were writing the songs, we had these Wild West melodies and harmonies going on. So that was actually the idea why we did like this Wild West record, because the song sounded like Wild West melodies. And for Final Days, we actually didn't have any idea in the beginning. That came later on. And so when we had decided that it would be a sci-fi record, I was actually sitting down listening to a lot of sci-fi movie scores to see if there is anything like the sci-fi sound. Yeah. And I was, at least for myself, I just thought that there isn't. You have like these organ swelling sounds like in Interstellar, for example, or you have like the classical orchestral movie scores in Star Wars, Star Trek, stuff like that. Yeah. But that could also be songs for or scores for an adventure movie or something. Yeah. There's no specific sci-fi melody or harmony construct. And so we're thinking, okay, as we really like to illustrate a lot of that stuff on, like we always did, we always try to put in like some small effects here and there that is just the icing on the cake to make everything like sit together nicely. Yeah. And so we were thinking, what can we do? And so we came up with all these effects and like the dubstep elements, for example, in a Black Hole, or what you're referring to. These are actually vocal glitches, like basically destroying the vocals digitally in Heart of the Android. That made sense for us. or in the Dawn of the AI, we used a vocoder for the vocal melody, so vocal synthesizer actually, because we thought that might give it like a nice vibe. And yeah, it really sounds a bit like a robot singing, but it was planned to be like that. So, I mean, even Phil Collins used that one in The Air Tonight, 1983 or something. And yeah. So yeah, that was all on purpose. Yeah.
Did you listen to any of the older, heavy metal, sci-fi kind of records like Priest Turbo or Iron Maiden's Somewhere Back in Time to get some synthesizer vibe?
No, I'm pretty sure I have listened to these records like back in the day. Yeah. But not as specifically for this one. I mean, when we do an Orden Ogan record, it will all what you just said. It will always be an Orden Ogan record, and I think it is, like, from the harmonies and the melodies and stuff like that, it might be our most diverse record, because you have like these progressive or more progressive, longer songs like in the Dawn of the AI or something like Hollow. That is also like maybe one of the hardest tracks that we've ever written. But on the other end, you also have like these pop-ish tracks like Inferno. Yeah. Or Let the Fire Rain, that has these 1980s heavy metal, like real heavy metal classic riff.
Great track.
And the chorus that also could be like a 1980s pop chorus, And I also think like this is actually my favorite, like next to It Is Over, the last song on the record.
Fantastic song as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Totally. But Seb, is there a specific theme going on lyrically on this album? I mean, it's obviously a sci-fi universe.
We were. I mean, I really have to say where it all came from in the first place. I mean, when we did the Gunman record, we had these melodies and harmonies that sounded like Wild West, so we thought, okay, let's do Wild West record. And with Final Days, like I said before, in the beginning, we had no clue. And I mean, we're a band that tries to be close to the audience. And if we can, at times it's getting more and more difficult, but if we can, we love to go to the merchandise stand and give autographs, talk to people, And I mean, there are sometimes like really rewarding stories, like how much music means to them and how music helped people over dark times and stuff like that. So there are like some really great and touching stories out there. Yeah. And when we did the last shows of this Gunman touring cycle, there was one question that arose like 50 to 100 times. I'm not kidding. People were asking us basically like, oh, you have been in this post-apocalyptic ice world, and then the monks in the swamp, and then you have been ghost cowboys. Where do you want to go next? There's no place to go. Where do you want to go next? Do you want to go to space or what? and if people ask you that for the like 50th time or something, you'd be like, maybe we should go actually into space. Yes, right. And that was a little bit like self-fulfilling prophecy or fan service or both of it, Yeah. And in the beginning, we had the idea of doing one song each for like one possibility of mankind going down. And so it started with In the Dawn of the AI, that is about the artificial intelligence that is a threat to mankind or destroys mankind. Then we have the song It Is Over, where a big asteroid is hitting the Earth for the last time. And actually, funny side note is we also had a song about the killer virus. That was written in 2019 already, and also the cover art with the red gas mask instead of the scarf on Alistair Vale's face. Yeah. That was also done in 2019. Just call us the visionaries, Nostradamus Ogan or so.
Future sci-fi. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, the song is called December. I'm pretty sure we will release it later on, but we didn't think it was the right thing to do it at the time because. I mean, people are hearing the word virus every day, and I mean, music should as well be some sort of escapism, and we don't want to drag the people out of their world, of their imaginary world, when they are like drowned in music. Yeah. So that wouldn't have been a great. So yeah, like I said, we did that with a couple of songs, but there's no real overall concept to it. There are some songs that are about war, like Let the Fire Rain or Interstellar.
Yeah.
Interstellar being like a sarcastic comment. You know, Interstellar is a little bit meant like the movie Starship Troopers, for example, if you've seen that one. So that is the same kind of humor. You've got the song Inferno, that is basically about the idea that there are, like, at least from my point of view, I've got the impression that there are so many people on the world that are getting to be like more and more radical. They get more radical on the left, they get more radical on the right, and there's no middle anymore. And people don't know how to discuss things anymore. You know, like other people will just be. I'm missing the English word for that, but they will be badmouthed. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
what I mean.
Yeah.
And so the song Inferno, it basically it talks about one group of people that was radicalized so far that you don't reach them anymore with arguments. So the idea of the song is that the only solution is we gotta burn it down, you know, like basically like kill them all. Yeah. And the thing that was funny to me, that why I thought it is a great idea, is because the thing is, if you act like that, then you're no better. You know, you're basically doing the same that they do. Yeah. So it's a dilemma, because if you can't reach them with arguments anymore, that's difficult. What do you want to do? And so I really like that. And there are also other tracks on there. What I do a lot of times, and I did that on the previous records as well, is I will just pick a semantic field, like a field of words that are somehow connected to the overall theme. So you've got songs like Black Hole, and where Black Hole obviously gives you like a immediate idea of science fiction and space. But I will try to use these words that are connected with it to build metaphors that actually mean something totally different. So, for example, in Black Hole, it is actually about the feeling that the weight of your own depression is dragging you down to the ground.
There we go.
And also in Heart of the Android, People Were Thinking, it is about the question if technology that is sophisticated enough will develop a personality or something, like Data in Star Trek. And it was written to sound like that, but actually it's not about that. Actually, it's about a person that has the impression that he or she just has to function, and people expect him to be fully functioning like every day, regardless of how he's feeling, you know. And he's actually pretty drained, and So that is the idea, and I really like that, like to build a lot of metaphors and basically tell a totally different stories. And it's really, really funny. From time to time, you got fans coming to you after the shows and are like, "Oh, you know, I just understood what these lyrics are about. I listened to the song for 4 years and now I got it." And that's amazing as well.
It's also, I mean, to have the audience do their own interpretation of the lyrics. It's a great way of writing, I think. Have you find any inspiration in sci-fi stories? Do you have any preferences when it comes to sci-fi stories? It could be a film or a book, or any favorite sci-fi movies?
I mean, I love sci-fi. I'm a big Star Trek guy. Not Star Wars, not so much. I like it as well, but I think Star Wars is more Western, whereas the Star Trek is more for the intellectual people, at least the old stuff. And I'm also a horror fan, so I also love Event Horizon, stuff like that, Alien, obviously. But it's not that we just, got inspiration out of some of these movies. It was more about, I mean, Orden Ogan is more about doing that musically what I love to do, you know? So it's... I had just another interview that was a little bit weird, because there was one guy who was just asking over and over again where do I get my inspiration from, what bands and stuff. And I was trying to explain to him that in my life, I have just music in my head since I'm a very, very little child, you know? In my world, everything is music, like 24/7. And I didn't think he really got it. He was a guitar player himself, but he was always like, now we have to do a riff like Iron Maiden, and then we have to do a verse like blah blah. And I was like, I'm totally not like that. It's for me, it's more like stuff is like in the air in front of me, and just have to grab it out of the air. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
And from time to time, it also happens that I wake up in the middle of the night having dreamed a song and stuff, and get up and sit down to record it. So. That happens, but like I said, I'm from a musical family. At least my dad, he was a singer in a band as well.
Oh yeah.
And so I was listening to music since I'm a very, very small child. And my dad, he was listening to a lot of beat music from the 60s. From the 60s, like bands like the Hollies or so. You know? And they are the true kings of vocal harmonies, because that was all sung live in the studio with several people, and like in a really, really good way. And so I think that is where I got my musical stamp, if that makes any sense.
Totally. And so you have been working with Ylva Eriksson from Brothers of Metal on the song Alone in the Dark, and Gus G from Firewind on Interstellar. Tell me about this cooperation. Why did you choose to work with them?
Like I said before, Orden Ogan is just about. I don't like saying that. You sound like an idiot when you say that, but in my case, I think it really is just about the art, like my own art, like expressing myself and stuff. And it's always about the product, about what comes out. It was never about name dropping or having the biggest names or something like that, No. So if it comes to guests, it's always about what the guy or the girl can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And we were having some issues with our guitar player Toby in 2008. Starting in 2018, he's now on a long vacation and replaced by Patrick. And so when we back then had the impression already that maybe this is going to get difficult, and maybe he will not be able to do this all anymore like he used to do. We were basically just kidding, saying like, okay, if he can't record the solos, then we will have to find somebody else to play a guest solo. And Niels was just making fun, basically saying, I can ask Gus, because they have been on tour together.
Oh, yeah.
And so between that and the final solo, there was just a couple of days. And it sounds so stupid when I put it like that. Obviously it's a big honor for us. We're all big fans of his playing. He's one of the best guitar players on the planet. And I was I really knew what I was going to get. Like when I pulled up the fader and was listening to the solo, I was laughing, because it was exactly like I had in my head. I was like, this is so Gus G, And so that is great. With Ylva, we had this song already written, and we knew it was written from two different perspectives. So we knew there had to be a female voice in the second verse and chorus. And there were a lot of names thrown around on who could do that potentially. And I think she was suggested by AFM Records, because Brothers of Metal are also with AFM.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had seen them live. I also had met her briefly. Though that was a little bit weird, because she was just wearing a towel,
and not fur.
No, I think she was on the way to the shower or so. I listened back to the videos, and I was thinking to myself, how would that sound if she doesn't sing with that much power, but more with the fragile, low, and melancholic voice. And I was like, I think this could be really good. And we sent her the tracks, and when she sent the recordings back, I was blown away. I think this is the perfect, literally the perfect interpretation for that track. And I don't think that any singer in the world could have done that in a better way. Differently, yes, of course, but not better. I think she nailed it like totally. So I'm really, really happy with that.
Yeah, it also seems like that Brothers of Metal are on the rising at the moment.
Yes.
It's a great band. And you were touring with them in like 1 year?
If it works out, then yes.
Brothers of Metal and Windrose. 2020 That's gonna be the tour of this album. How is it to release an album and have to wait like 1 year to to do the tour?
It's 2 years actually, you know, because I mean the original tour was planned for September 2020 with supports Gravedigger and Rage, which would have made an amazing German metal package, and then we had to postpone due to COVID to April of this year. And now, obviously, we have postponed for the third time, like to February 2022. Yeah. And then with the bands that you just mentioned. And by the way, I just think this is one of the greatest things about Orden Ogan. We can headline a package with all the seasoned veterans, you know, like the white-haired guy, the silver-haired guys. And it will work great. And it will also work great when we play with the very young, fresh acts, you know?
Yes.
And so that is exactly like how our audience looks like as well. So you've got everything from the very young to the very, very old people. And I mean, the thing is, speaking about releasing the record, there were some bands that had a lot of time now at home writing records, now coming to me like, okay, can we do something in the studio together? And I'm like, yes. There were also bands that have postponed, not because they couldn't cross the border, but that have postponed because they said something like, we don't think it makes any sense right now to release music because we can tour anyway. And I personally think this is the worst decision ever. Because right now people are sitting at home, they're in their home offices, they are able to listen a lot more to music, especially on the streaming platforms and stuff. And also, I think, I mean, you know, people, I don't know how it is in Denmark, but from my perspective, when I talk to people, a lot of people are not as joyful anymore than they used to be, you know? Yeah. Like when I get people on the phone, maybe it's just about me, but when I get people on the phone, I have the impression a lot of the people are a bit more depressed than they used to be. And so, I mean, I know that there are a lot of Orden Ogan fans out there and a lot of people that are really looking forward to
hear some new music.
To get new music, right? And they will feel better if they like the record. And so there was no point for me at all to say, okay, it doesn't make any sense just because we can tour right now. I mean, come on. You know, how long do you want to wait? I mean, I don't know how long this is going to be, you know, like if it's going like super bad, then we might end up sitting at home in 2023 still, you know, I don't want to paint the devil on the wall, but
it's tough at the moment, definitely. But Seb, I have one final one for you here, and that is a thing that I've been talking with some of the Danish Orden Ogan fans about. That was, you have played only one time in Denmark on the last Gunmen tour, and it must have been the smallest club on the whole tour.
Yes, it was.
Do you remember anything from that night, and how was it to play at a venue like this when you are, you know, known for playing venues for like 1,000 capacity?
I love it. I think the audience was amazing. I don't know how you remember it. The mood of the audience was fantastic. And I love being in these small clubs as well. I mean, you know, I'm doing this for quite a long time. And I mean, obviously we've played a lot of very small shows. It's very convenient to have bigger stages, but I love it all. You know, I love being on Wacken, on Hellfest, and I also love to be in the small clubs. Actually, I'm always a little bit more nervous when I am in small clubs. I don't know why. But speaking about that, it won't have been the last time for us in Denmark. We wanted to go there with the new tour as well. Didn't work out for the first tour leg, but in our case, we wanted to do one smaller first tour leg of the Final Days tour, and there will be a lot of additional shows afterwards that are planned actually, because I mean we've got just one show in London, just one show in Paris, you know. So as soon as this tour is done, when it is done at some day,
in 2026,
2029, maybe. No, but as soon as that is done, I mean, we are not in Spain and stuff, so there will be additional France shows, there will be additional Spanish shows, and we will surely be back in Denmark because that was just great. And yeah, I think next time maybe we will go into the big venue, right?
That would be perfect to have some a bigger stage for you guys. That would fit it. But Sebastian, any final words?
Yes, actually, I keep repeating myself because I say that in a lot of interviews, but I think it's also important. You know, the thing is, the most important thing is stay healthy. I mean, it might not be the worst of all viruses on Earth, but it surely isn't harmless. You know, I don't want to have it, and so I'm super cautious myself. And I mean, with all the things going on and the economy going down and stuff, and I mean, I know there are some people who are doing really bad, really not well, and maybe lose their jobs and stuff like that, and be at home and getting depressed and so on. I think my message is, and I think it's super important, is just don't give up hope, you know, because it won't be the end of the world, you know, it will get better at a certain point. It may take a while, but even if you've lost your job and stuff, and even if you are sitting at home, I know it's hard, but don't give up. It will get better. There's no reason to jump out of the window. It's it's not the final days.
It's not the final days. I was just waiting for me to say it.
Yeah, and I mean, and especially if you go and get the new Orden Ogan record, then you will feel amazing, you know. And so yeah, go and get that one. Stay healthy.